You look at a couple of teams we're going to talk about here. The Giants were one of the best teams against the spread in the NFL this year, 13-4. The Bengals, 12-4 against the spread. Does any of the shit that I just said matter, Steve?
No.
And welcome to Pocket Protection in association with TDR, brought to you by Bet99 Sportsbook. Every game starts at Bet99.com. We are responsible gambling. I'm Ryan Doyle. That is Steve Budin. Good to see you again.
Good to be here.
I can't tell you how excited I am. I am like, I don't know, is it a kid at Christmas? I feel like the NFL Wildcard weekend by far is one of the best football opportunities and one of the best betting opportunities that you could possibly imagine. It's going to have all sorts of drama. Don't call me on the weekend. Don't ask me if I can go out for dinner. Honey, I apologize. You're going to have to look after the kids. This is going to be all me this weekend.
Yeah, I'm taking my rightful place in that couch that I've been farting into for the last 40 years, and I'm going to be there with my eyes peeled on the screen. This is the only thing left that we actually watch a TV for, right? Because everything else we do on our phones, but we still watch the games, on television. So, it's nice to be able to do something the same way we did it in 1980s.
Absolutely. You need a new couch, my friend, because that one stinks. Let's talk.
I got so much DNA in that couch, it's going to get up and walk out on me one day.
It's got its own legs. I love it. Let's talk a little strategy. We did it off the top of last show, but I think it's worthwhile because I'm seeing all sorts of statistics on social media. Things like this, for example. Since 2003, teams that covered 70% of more of their games have gone 18-21-1 against the spread. As favorites, 11-18 against the spread. As underdogs or pick'em, 7-3-1. All interesting statistics, I suppose. You look at a couple of teams we're going to talk about here. The Giants were one of the best teams against the spread in the NFL this year, 13-4. The Bengals, 12-4 against the spread. Does any of the shit that I just said matter, Steve?
No, because the problem is because those statistics are out before the lines, right? So whatever, and believe me, you and I aren't the only ones with access to reading those statistics. They're made by the people, who eventually, will take that into consideration when they're making the lines. So the gamblers know all this stuff. Yet their opinion of who's going to win is what creates the line. Their opinion is affected by these stats in real time. So these stats that everybody knows about, that's already baked into the cake that you're enjoying when you eat that cake on Sunday morning.
So what am I looking for then if it's Wild Card weekend? Am I looking for head-to-head? Does the regular season head-to-head matter? Is it simply a number that I'm now following and trying to trace and figure out if I perhaps like the dog? Am I holding off until I can get some better value towards the kickoff? You're shrugging at me.
I'm going to tell you what you can rewind the tape, and I've said consistently all year, especially with a guy like you who's an experienced handicapper, who's had a good season, and whatever you've been looking at all year long, you're now at a point where you should be able to look at a game, look at a line, and knowing everything knowing everything you've watched all year, that line should make your stomach shake in a certain way. And it either makes it shake that this is too cheap or this is too expensive. And you're now at the point in your betting career 20 years later where you have to trust that instinct. You know what I mean? There is no miracle saving stat of the day that's your go-to stat in the postseason that's going to be able to bail you out of this mess. This is going to come down to, that's what makes this such a great opportunity. It's because it's you against the number, it's your instinct against the number, and it's the ultimate chess game. And win or lose, trust your gut. That's what all the losses and all the wins have been made for. Don't, at this point in your career, change it up and start to look for some special stat that's going to win the day for you. The stat is how many times in your gut did you have a certain feeling and that turned out to be the case. Judging from our record this year, especially with our best bets, we're in a good position.
Yeah, absolutely we are. So let's get into it. Let's chop it up. We got one big game that we'll start with. We'll get into the other two in just a second, but this one's getting a lot of attention. I like the number here. I'm going to start with that because Minnesota -3 versus the New York Giants, total 48. This one really does pop out to me from a number perspective.
Okay, and before you let us know which way that is, I'm just going to say Minnesota to me has more lives than Bruce Willis and Hard to Kill. I mean, the Vikings' MO all season long, right, has been to escape death and kind of win at the buzzer, with Kirk Cousins kind of forced to play this role of miracle maker down the stretch of every game all season long. And you have to ask yourself, why is this? And the reason to me is simple: bad defense. They rank 31st in the NFL. They allow 389 yards per game. They're tied for 30th in points. They allow 25 plus points per game. And despite all this, they're 13-4 straight up. And you know what? Records went out with the Beatles. This is the playoffs, and your record can't help you anymore. These two teams clashed on Christmas Eve. Minnesota built a double-digit lead in the first half, and then they blew it by the 5-minute mark in the third quarter. They retook the lead early in the fourth quarter, and then if you remember, New York came back within a point. The Vikings then scored and pushed that advantage to 8 with 3 minutes left, and then the Giants drove 75 yards in under a minute to tie that game with 2 minutes. The only thing they did wrong was they left a little too much time on the clock, and Cousins was able to engineer a short drive, which led to a 61-yard field goal. They won this game on the legs of a 61-yard field goal by Joseph, and abracadabra, another Houdini-like escape for Minnie. Look, the Giants won the yardage battle in that game, 445 to 353. The Giants won the quarterback battle, 334 yards to Cousins, 299 yards. And look, I've said all year long I thought Minnie's been a fake. I still think they're a fake. I'm rolling with Big Blue plus the points here.
This is a reckoning. This is going to be Minnesota's absolute reckoning, and they've deserved it. They've deserved to be embarrassed on television because, as you say, they've got by through the skin of their teeth the entire time, the entire season. They've had to rely on comebacks. They've had to rely on Cousins. None of it has been pretty in any way, shape, or form. And I think the number, when I mentioned it off the top, I think the number does tell you something. I think gamblers are telling us that they don't trust the Minnesota Vikings, that they've got a lot of respect for Brian Daboll and the New York Giants and what they've got going on, that they are headed in the right direction despite that midseason lull that the G-men had. I think the Giants knew this. I think they even fought Philly valiantly with backups last weekend, and they did a good job at that, almost coming back on the Eagles. They did get the cover, I believe, in that game as well against Philadelphia. I like the New York Giants a lot here. I wish I was getting more points. I think everybody is on to Minnesota. I think they've been exposed, and I think Vegas, I think gamblers, I think everyone is telling you the Magic 8 Ball is pointing in the direction of the New York Giants in this football game to likely embarrass Minnesota. And, this isn't going to be comeback time. They're not rolling the rock back, and saying, hey, look, you're back. Hey, good, resurrection. No, it's not going to happen, Minnesota. You're gone. You're done. Give me the Giants. Man, I'm pumped up, Steve.
Yeah, I like that. I like it. You're obviously reading my notes, but that's okay.
That's all right. It happens from time to time. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to take a look at Cincinnati and Baltimore, another divisional clash, a game you did see just last weekend. It's going to be replayed all over again, but will it end the same way? We'll also talk about Dallas and Tampa Bay. Wildcard weekend. We'll do all of it as Pocket Protection continues.
As a world champion, when I walked out of the tunnel, I knew I prepared to win. I still do today. Every game starts at Bet99.net.
Welcome to Bet99.net, Canada's home for all your favorite free-to-play casino games, slots, live dealer tables, and progressive jackpots, including Mega Moolah. At Bet99.net, you could be a winner today.
Welcome back to Pocket Protection in association with TDR, brought to you by Bet99 Sportsbook. Every game starts at Bet99.com. We are responsible gambling. I am Ryan Doyle. That is Steve Budin. We're talking about the Wildcard playoffs. This is going to be an interesting matchup because this is the one that has been blowing up my phone. Everybody has been texting me about the Bengals and the Ravens, and what everyone is saying is something that I don't necessarily agree with. They're all saying that the Cincinnati Bengals are going to roll here. Of course, no Lamar Jackson for the Baltimore Ravens. Doesn't look like the quarterback is going to be good to go. He tweeted out this morning that doesn't seem to be the case. Bengals minus 9.5, total 40.5.
Well, like you said, the Ravens are right back at Cincy for the wild card round. They were there last Sunday. They lost 27-16. Now, look, with Jackson in the lineup, the Ravens did win the first matchup, 19-17, back on October 9th. Unfortunately, Jackson's doing his best Zion Williamson these days, and he's out for injuries again. So for me, it's no Lamar, no chance. It's really that simple. Now, the question obviously is, do the Bengals cover or do they just win the game? I don't think anyone, even yourself, is expecting an upset here. The Bengals have won 8 straight as they hit the postseason hot again for the second straight year. This includes a 20-3 spread mark in their last 23 games headed into last Sunday. To me, Joe Burrow, he's actually has better command of the offense than he did at this same time a year ago. And this is a Cincy team that's outscored Baltimore 109-54 across its 3 series wins since last season. So, to split hairs, will they win by 7? Will they win by 14? Once you know they're already going to win, hard to bet against them here. I'm laying the wood with the Cincinnati Bengals for better or for worse.
Okay, fair enough. That's a big 9.5 points you're willing to give. I like it. It'll probably go up to about 10.5 by the time you get to game time. So take under the number, right? Get under that 10 spot. I always tell people to do that because you're getting better value. So if you like the Bengals, bet them now, bet them early, bet them often kind of thing. I don't necessarily see it the same way when it comes to Baltimore because I do think that without Lamar Jackson, they're going to have to figure out what they're going to do. And I think the gameplay may be different this time around. They didn't show their hand last week because they knew that it was inevitable almost that they were going to play the Bengals again. I think they're probably going to run the ball a lot. And that, to me, tells me that this is going to be a slow-paced game. I look at the total in this game at 40.5, and I think to myself, there's an opportunity here for the under. This is a divisional game, probably going to be grimy, going to probably be played in the trenches here. I also like the Ravens to stay under that 9.5 and within that 9.5 range. I think it's going to be gross. I think the Bengals will get the win, but I think it will be an ugly win, and I do not think they're going to cover 9.5, and I will wait for 10 because I will take the Ravens. So we're on opposite sides. I do like the under more, though, as a play here.
Yeah, and all that makes sense. And look, just because it's the playoffs doesn't mean you have to come up with a side. What you have to do as a gambler all the time is evaluate where the value is and pounce. And if that lies in the total, betting the under is not always the funnest game to watch. Like, oh, don't score, don't play 80 yards, don't move, everybody freeze. You know what I mean? Like, that's a hard way to watch a game, right? But at the end of the day, don't lose focus on the fact that as gamblers, what we're trying to do is win money. And winning money and the excitement of winning money will always supersede the game. So if under is where your gut is telling you, I would trust that gut and bet the under.
Absolutely. Let's finish off with what I think, you want to talk stats. Tom Brady 4-0 as an underdog in the playoffs. Does it really matter here? I don't know. Dallas minus 2.5 at Tampa. The total here is 45.5. Of course, you get first rights on this game.
Oh, let me get my prop out. Hold on a second.
Oh, no. Is it going to be a hat? Has he got a hat? He's got a hat.
Okay. All right. Let me just get it.
You look like Terry Bradshaw.
Oh, well, I think that's a compliment. I'm not sure. If you mean Terry Bradshaw then, Terry Bradshaw now, this is a very, very different, scenario, one or the other. But okay, either way, I'll take it. Look, if you're a Cowboys fan, well, here's a glass half full analysis for you. Maybe the boys got their bad game out of them and out of their system with the regular season finale at Washington. And look, it's great that Dallas escaped that game without any major injuries, although I'll tell you, injuries or not, like everyone gets tweaked in an NFL game, right? You don't leave an NFL game without being sore and tweaked to a certain extent. But looking back, it probably would have been better just to give the starters the afternoon off rather than have them suffer that humbling 26-6 loss at FedEx Field. And if you're in the glass half empty department, well, Dak Prescott continues the late season yips. He tossed an interception for his 7th straight game. That was his 3rd pick 6 in the last 4 games. By far, this is the worst stretch for a Dallas quarterback since Vinny Testaverde was intercepted 9 straight games in 2004. You forgot Testaverde played for the Cowboys, right?
I did.
That's an ugly thought. Don't try to erase that if you can. The only good news is, now Dallas gets a rare sub-500 division winner with the Bucs. in a wild card round. But it's true the boys have never beaten Tom Brady in 7 tries, including opening night back in September. But look, the Bucs have offensive issues. No Gronk, an unhealthy offensive line, so it's big problems in the offensive category for them. Defensively, though, they're strong, and we can't forget that it was their defense really that beat them last game in the early season when they blanketed the Cowboys. I think they held them to like 3 points in that game. And this is the playoffs, where the Cowboys haven't won on the road since Barry Switzer in the mid-'90s, and this is where Dak really hasn't been able to up his game in the past. We've said it before, Dak is really, really good against the tin cans, right? Give him a team that stinks and he looks like the Terminator, and it doesn't appear to me like he's ready to change that dynamic, not after what I saw last week. Look, I don't want to make this as simple as Prescott versus Brady, but the NFL is a game of quarterbacks, and I have to go with Brady here. I'm going to take Tampa Bay at home.
What the hell did you put the hat on for?
It was just to throw you off.
Holy shit! I didn't see that coming at all.
I may be a Cowboy, but I ain't dumb.
Oh my! Well, I think you might be a little. Maybe you are Terry Bradshaw in his senior years. I don't know what's going on, but this is my best bet of the week. I think what you saw against the Commanders last week was an anomaly. Throw the tape out. Nobody needs to see that game all over again. I think the real Cowboys are saving themselves for the playoffs. It's like waiting until have sex till marriage. That's what the Cowboys got going on here. They're saving themselves for the playoffs. I think the backfield, the running backs are going to be in action, hot and heavy. Pollard is going to have a lot of key runs in this game. I think the Dallas defense is going to eat and eat and eat against Tom Brady. I think this game is going to be an absolute blowout. The fact I'm giving under 3 points, I thought was a gift. I thought we were on the same side. I want a hat. How do I get Steve's hat sent to my house here in Canada? No, I love the Cowboys here. I'm not worried about Dak in any way. And you want to talk about a tin can, talk about a team that limped to win the NFC South. They're as tin can as they come. They could barely get past Carolina to win the division. This is crazy to me. Crazy to me, Steve. I'm all over the Cowboys. All over.
I see it. I see you drinking the Cowboy Kool-Aid, and that's okay. And you may be right. For me, I can't get behind Dak Prescott. I just can't do it. You know what I mean? I can't get behind, and maybe I should look past the marquee of Brady versus Prescott, but to me, I just think that, again, when people even are looking at that, they're forgetting this Tampa Bay defense and what they're capable of doing. They're forgetting the fact that Dallas had a hard time scoring points against this team early in the season. They had a hard time scoring points last week. So, they'll have to get past that. And yes, if Dallas plays up to their ability, there's no doubt they can win this game by double digits. It's a question of, are they ready to get past that and finally up their game in the postseason when it counts? I'm not convinced about that, but we'll have to see.
I have to find out the number for where Steve does his haberdasherying. Is that the word, haberdashery? That's the hat maker? I need to know who your hat maker is what I'm trying to say. That's a good-looking hat.
Interesting story. I'm in Corpus Christi, Texas, about 6 months ago. I'm at a bar, doing some line dancing with my girlfriend, and this guy comes over to me, and I'm dressed kind of like this, a little more rodeo for Dallas, and he comes, he says, "Hey, Cowboy, can I talk to you for a second?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "You come away from your girl for a second." I said, "Okay." So I walk away. He goes, "Listen, man." He goes, "You look great, man. You got the whole thing down." But me and my friends were kind of laughing a little bit from across the room. And I'm like, "Really? Why?" He goes, "Because you're wearing a felt hat. It's about 105 degrees outside. So like us Cowboys look at you and we know like you're a weekend cowboy because you really should be wearing a summer hat," which you can see this one, see the holes in it. This is a summer hat. He goes, go online and look up summer hat and get yourself a few summer hats, and then you'll be perfect. And I was like, "Oh man, thanks so much." I go, "Where you're from? Around here?" He goes, "No, Jersey." Oh. So a New Jersey Cowboy taught me how to wear a summer hat when I'm in Texas. But anyway, that's one for the road there.
Oh, the man with the stories. I love it. Steve Budin, always a pleasure to speak to you. Always good to talk football, betting, Cowboys, hats, whatever it is. You've always got something great. We appreciate it, man.
You got it, my brother. Let's win this week.
Absolutely. Pocket protection in association with TDR. Brought to you by Bet99 Sportsbook. Every game starts at Bet99.com. We are responsible gambling.